Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the AL Central Rundown. I am Dan, that's Lee and Ty. Eric was shoved off the waterfall cliff Black Panther style, and that is why there is a new sheriff in town running this show today. No, he's going to join us, I'm assuming, between diaper changes or something. He wasn't available at start time, but he's planning to join us at some point. So is Sam. So we will potentially have a full boat here eventually, but we decided to get started a little bit early today. Um, with that, the big news of the week is that the winter meetings had occurred over the course of the past 7 days. And we're going to have a lot of detail to go over with some of our own teams. Pretty much every team in division at least made one move over the course of last week. Looking forward to getting into that. But also, there's just some general big baseball news that occurred over the course of this time period. So, ones that come to mind, Pete Alonso to Baltimore, a bit of a surprise there. Kyle Schwarber's going back to the Philadelphia Phillies. Edwin Diaz is headed to Chavez Ravine to join the Dodgers as they continue to increase their embarrassment of riches. And then, uh, friend of the AL Central, Jorge Polanco, he's going to be a New York Met, potentially replacing Pete Alonso. And Robert Suarez, fireballing right-handed closer, formerly of San Diego's, now with the Braves. Guys, if you have any comments or commentary about your teams, the winter meetings in general, happy to hear them.
I think the Tigers did fairly good. I think I'd give them like a B minus because I think they were good moves. Maybe not like enough, but like we still got like 3 months of the off season to go, so I'm not going to be too, oh, they should have done more. The moves they made were good, and I'm pleased with them. The rest of the league, I don't know what the Mets are doing. What is going on? The span of a week, they've traded Brandon Nimmo, lost Diaz and Alonso, and they signed Jorge Polanco for a lot of money. So
It definitely seems like at least a change in strategy, a change in course for them. They've kind of gotten out of the mode of, oh, we're just going to buy everyone and think that's going to generate wins because clearly it hasn't worked for them for the last couple of years. Um, we'll see if this, change makes a difference. I'm kind of curious to see what exactly the end game is here. They're going to be playing some of their younger guys potentially. But there are two really big contracts still in that team in Lindor and Soto. So
yeah,
maybe they're trying to find a bit of a middle ground here.
it'll be interesting to see. And Pete Alonso to the Orioles. I don't know if I would have. I thought he was gonna stay a Met. To be honest, I don't think I would have picked the Orioles.
It's quite a commitment from Baltimore, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they clearly felt that they needed to add some thump to the middle of their lineup. I don't think anybody really considered their offense to be the biggest issue on that team. It's the starting pitching.
I
But,
mean, their offense
you know,
was an issue last season. It just wasn't the issue.
that's fair. That's fair. But with all that young talent, I guess add a vet, somebody in the middle of the order, I can see the logic in that. But are they going to do anything to address the bigger issue there? Also, I know they've moved the left field fence in since, but like that left field is pretty cavernous. I kind of wonder how Alonso's bat plays there. Don't get me wrong, the guy's strong as heck. Like he'll get his, but I wonder if it'll be a few less than it would have been somewhere else.
Yeah, I don't know
I
what
believe
his spray chart looks like.
I
So
believe Boston was in play for him at one point. That would be the swing the other direction. He might hit 50 in Fenway, but maybe it's 35 in Baltimore. We'll find out.
Well, you makes me wonder if they think he's going to lift the ceiling of these other kids they have still. I mean, they're still developing, right? I think last year showed you that Baltimore is not the powerhouse that they need to be yet. So I wonder if the theory is if we lock down someone like Alonzo now that we'll see more out of the kids and the younger staff going forward.
yeah, because they also traded for Tyler Ward a couple of weeks ago too. So there's another bat for the outfield. And yeah, although I did see the thing of Scott Boras like, oh, I've gotten calls from the other, his other people on the Orioles. They're really excited for the Orioles commitment, and I'm like, God damn it, Tigers, do something.
I will say, talking about our teams and how the winter meetings went, from everything I've read, from the perspective that I have, uh, the White Sox have gotten conversations going. I'm not going to say anything is what it should be, but I'm also very used to us never being connected to free agents whatsoever. I'm not sure if anyone had seen this. There was some rumors going around that Boston wanted Kyle Teal back, our catcher.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw that.
Yes.
Very interesting to see things like that and whether or not our new GM would actually pull that trigger. Obviously, I'm hoping that we would not do that, given we don't know where they're at developmentally. I'd like to see another year out of both Quero and Teal. Um, Overall, I like the grade for Lee's Tigers. I'm gonna say for the White Sox, I'm gonna give them a C plus, just for the fact that they're having conversations, and you're hearing that they're having conversations. They've been rumored to be connected to Talkman. They've been rumored to be connected to Dustin May, who just actually got signed, I believe, with the Cardinals. Uh,
Yeah.
so we'll see what happens, but we're talking. So that's something.
Do, do you have any concern? There's obviously been a reputation that the White Sox have built over time that isn't necessarily the best. Do you have any concern that like they're just kind of in this weird purgatory where free agents are going to be not all that enthused by the idea of going to the White Sox right now, just because we're going to need to see kind of like, oh, it's not as much of a chemistry and dumpster fire than as it's been in the last few years. Does that make
I think
sense?
no, yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think from what I've read, from what I've seen, I think that whole toxic environment was 2024. I think
Mhm.
2025 was showing you that we got rid of those types of guys, that the locker room is not bad anymore. Now, with that being said, I still think that the only players that are listening to White Sox offers are the ones that need a bounce back. They're like, hey, I need to play. I'm going to play with some kids. I want to coach them. Maybe it's for people that want to be a coach in the future, like Michael A. Taylor was. Um, just looking at how can we bring in those veterans that need that prove it 1 or 2 year deal to go and actually earn some more money elsewhere. I don't see top free agents even listening to offers at this point.
Okay, so I have a wild proposition. Hear me out. So this occurred to me after we did our last episode. Okay, so last year there was this whole thing with Michael Lorenzen where his plan, it seemed, was to get signed with a team that wasn't going to be competitive, right? Because he wanted to be a two-way player. How would you feel about that if you signed Lorenzen as a starting pitcher and then had him take at bats? Because you're not going to be competitive. He's trying to get enough at bats to be counted as a two way player. Like, how would you feel about doing that?
So right now, I mean, given before last year happened, right? So if you're talking to me about this in April, I would have said go for it. But right now, we have players to fill up every space in that lineup. So I don't think it would be beneficial move at this point. But if we would have made that decision a year ago, I can't see anyone batting an eye at it.
There's an element of like this is a serious baseball team now, right? Like you don't necessarily want to go down that train of like goofing off with like we're going to let Michael Lorenzen play, be a two-way player. Now, I would ask that question to Eric, and that's really kind of mean on my part to say it that way. But like that team that's like on the downward swing of the rebuild, like maybe you try it with them, but at least I'm putting myself in your shoes, Ty. I agree with you.
Yeah,
We're
that makes
trying to
sense.
build something here. We're trying to get better. Let's not
I-
do that.
Now, no. So let me confirm. I wouldn't say that we're taking anything seriously yet. I don't think we're there. But and to your point, it's like we know what we're building. We know that we're
Mhm.
putting places or putting pieces in the places they need to be, and I think that's the goal. And if someone isn't part of, either we're going to, pull you in to get rid of you at the trade deadline, and like the organization and the player is aligned, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Like we're not going to just throw someone out there, just throw someone out there. I think
Yes.
that's yeah.
You only got 26 roster spots. Those should either be used for development or making a guy look good so that you can trade him to get guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're aiming to be the new Tampa Bay / Royals love child, I guess. I don't know.
I like it.
So
Oh,
Dan, what do
Um,
you think about the Cleveland Guardians at the winter meetings?
what did they do? They signed that one guy that
if you're dang it, if you're a relief pitcher who hasn't looked very good but has some potential, look out because the Cleveland Guardians may give you some money to come pitch for them in the next year.
Hey, they need
Um,
a new closer.
they do. Well, I'll get to kind of the finer points of what I think is going on. I would say that there does seem to be some sort of logic or strategy to what the Guardians are trying to do this offseason, but I'm not sure I'm completely on board with what that plan is. Um, but yeah, they've been bringing in relief pitching. You know, they need some depth there, and they're doing it at low cost. We know that what their reputation is as far as developing pitching. So there's definitely something going on there, and I think it's positive. But I don't know that they're getting the most out of this winter that they possibly could be. I do want to go back just for a second. You mentioned Teal. You know, the article I saw, I think it might have even been the one Lee shared with us, I think maybe, was something like uh Red Sox have continually asked about Kyle Teal. White Sox have basically said no every single time. Like not
That's
interested.
very funny to me.
No, still not interested, like 2 weeks later.
I,
Um I don't know what that's about. Apparently they really like Kyle Teal.
I don't know why they
We keep
want him
asking
so
about.
much. Don't they have Narvaez? And he looks pretty good to be a catcher of the future. Like I don't know what they're doing.
so I think this is buyer's remorse. When you look at Kyle Teal and what his ceiling might be, the fact of all the maturity he went through over the course of his first season with us, I think Boston is just like, okay, let's say we made a mistake. I would rather say I made a mistake than lose out on that 7 years that we could have had a face of the franchise player. They probably were arguing, and there could have been some arguments, some discussions about was he the guy to include in the trade, but that was the only one the White Sox were going to like. That was the only way that the White Sox would budge. So I think that they got who they needed in Garrett Crochet. If they have to go and give us three other players to get Teal back, once again, I don't agree with it, but I understand the player. He's going to be a player. He showed you that already with the maturity, with how he handles himself at the plate, how he works with the pitching staff. I mean, there's a reason why we're not gonna just get rid of him to get rid of him. Now,
And by the way,
Dan, to your point,
yeah,
since Chris Getz has been on board as our GM, there has never been the White Sox had a low asking price, right? You talk about Luis Robert, we're always asking for more than he's worth. My question is, does it end up hurting us in the long term to continually ask for more than what we should get for them, if you will? Because I mean, you look at we had the and I'm sorry I can't think of the name. We had someone go to Tampa Bay last year, and Adrian Hauser went to Tampa Bay, and he just wasn't who he was for the White Sox. If that continues to happen, where it's like we're creating a system that they perform better here than elsewhere, that's going to hurt us. So I'm
gotta get
interested to
figured
see
out.
how that goes.
I mean,
I will.
it's been a
Go
year
ahead, Lee.
the uh since the Gary Crochet trade at this point. I mean, two of those four players have reached the majors. I mean, they look like Chase Maidroth and Kyle Teal. They both look like dudes. Like it's very early, but like it looks like if both those guys work out. That's
And we
pretty
still
good.
have two more kids coming up, and that's I think at the end of the day, Crochet was never going to it was never going to make a difference if he was on the Sox or not. That's why we needed to get rid of him when we did. Um, do I wish he was still here? 100%. But as you mentioned, two players already here. We still have Braden Montgomery coming up. There's a lot of good information about him around.
He's
Um,
the number one prospect right now, isn't he, for the White Sox?
somewhere in the top five, I
Yeah,
believe. So it just we had to let go, and it sucks. But I mean, you look at we're going to talk about this in a little bit in terms of the overall signings. Dylan Cease, we had to let him go because it just didn't make sense. It wasn't going to be a long term thing. Um, so it sucks, but this is where we're at.
any other thoughts on any of the other moves, whether they were kind of relevant to the division or not? Jorge Polanco, any thoughts there? That was kind of odd for the Mets to. It seems like they're going to replace Pete Alonso with Jorge Polanco, at least in the short term. I mean, Polanco had a great postseason, probably made himself quite a bit of money with, he was somebody that I think was kind of overlooked in last year's off season and ended up, really showing out for himself and getting himself a bigger deal after a good year in Seattle. But
So
can he sustain that?
here's the thing: is did he only go to the Mets because of the money, because of the AAV? Because if he wanted to win, if he wanted to stay with the Seattle, like I assume that they gave him an offer,
You have
right?
to assume they gave him an offer because like he was like their postseason hero in the ALDS.
That seemed to be a good relationship. I don't know the Mariners depth chart well enough to know if they have somebody ready to go. The one thing I will say is Polanco is aging out of playing in the field. Like, there's a
It's
reason
fair.
he's going to
Yeah.
play first if he plays the field this year. He's not a second baseman long term. So I do think
And
it's a little bit
Seattle's got
dubious
their
giving
first
him a
baseman.
multi-year deal. And yeah, and Seattle has they it might have been in a situation where they had to choose between Polanco and Naylor. But uh, either way, he's on the Mets now, and we'll see if he can fill some pretty big shoes there. By the way, hey Sam, how's it going?
Hey, how we doing, everyone? And by the way, the answer to the question, did this person just go to the Mets for the money? The answer to that question would be yes.
I think that's probably a fair rule. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Um, but yeah, made a little trip to Kansas City this weekend. Glad to be back and happy to be here on the show.
Welcome
Yeah,
in.
Sam, you want to? We all gave our grades of what we thought our teams did over the winter meetings. Do you have any perspectives?
Yeah,
You
just high
know,
level.
I feel pretty positive about what's happened with the Royals. I think it's a good start, and it is a good step one and two, and maybe three. But let's move on now to steps. Assuming there are additional steps down this road, I'd give the Royals a solid A minus, for what
Wow.
the moves they've made so far. But we can get more into that in a moment here. But overall, pretty positive on what's been happening with the Royals.
So let's move on to signing Cody Bellinger. Is what you're saying?
You know what? That's a good point. I did predict that a couple weeks ago. I think they brought in a couple guys who are good, good pieces, good kind of low risk bounce back or second year guys. And I think that what I would really like to see is them add a legit guy who is going to be at the top of the depth chart. Because I think Lane Thomas, that's a good pickup. He's a bit of a bounce back candidate. I think the Collins, who they got from the Brewers, he's an interesting sophomore season candidate. He got some Rookie of the Year attention last year. So again, these are not guys who you should be counting on, but they're certainly good pieces to have, and I think they will certainly raise the floor of what we've seen from the Royals. Now, of course, this does make a reunion with Adam Frazier a lot less likely in my predictions sheet. But overall, yeah, again, I'd say go out and let's bring someone in who is a name player, whether that's Bellinger or whomever.
Now, I do want to speak on the idea of the moves you guys have already made. Of all the teams, I think Detroit and the Royals are the ones that have been rumored the most to be actively talking.
Mm-hmm.
Royals specifically about pitching.
Mm-hmm.
How are you feeling about those talks that are occurring? Do you think that they're going to be beneficial for the team? What have you heard, if anything?
Well, I think there's a lot of different strategies when you're doing business, and I think the Royals are right now a team that have some assets that I think would be attractive to a lot of different teams. There's every team needs more pitchers, specifically starting pitchers, and the Royals have that. So you go out there and you make a lot of noise about what your intentions are. You say, oh, we have this asset. We could give it to you, but, this other team, they're offering
Mhm.
us this. So I think it's definitely a strategy. I don't disagree with it. Whatever happens will obviously be results based thinking on their performance with that. But it's interesting that it has been so there's been a lot of talk, specifically with with Jaron Duran, and with Teoscar Hernandez, uh, Tony Tater's another one. A lot of talk has been made about what the Royals may or may not be wanting to do, and I'm from a fan point of view, it's always it's always more satisfying to hear something than to hear nothing. So whether that is actually beneficial for the team or not, is another topic. But it's at least been I'm glad to see it. I'm glad that they're talking and they're trying to be aggressive. That's good for content. So
Well, on that note, like, is starting pitching the one place that you'd be okay with trading from or doing something with? Do you
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
the best choice for the 2026 Royals? I guess
I,
that's
I do, and the Royals have a couple guys who are locked up for this season. Reagan's, Waka, Lugo, all those guys are under contract. Noah Cameron's sticking around, I would say. And then you've got Chris Bubich, who's coming back from injury. You've got Daniel Lynch, who's started in the past, who's had a couple good years coming out of the bullpen. You've got Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek, who the Royals traded for at the deadline, who both were good in some fits and spurts for the Royals. And then you have a guy like Bailey Falter, who was another guy the Royals acquired at the deadline. He wasn't very good, but still he's a major league starting pitcher, and I think a lot of teams could see something in him. So it is a position group that the Royals have a lot of. Now, the flip side with that is we saw a lot of injuries in that position group last year for the Royals. So, if you're trading away depth, it can be a bit of a double-edged sword. But I do think that would be the 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 starting pitchers are the prize. They're the pretty penny of MLB currency. So I think that's definitely what they ought to be doing. Now we'll see what form that comes in.
For most of the season last year, you guys had the best pitching staff and the worst offense. If you get a little bit worse at pitching and a lot better at offense, you're going to be a better team.
Yeah, and honestly, one of those things is if the Royals get a little bit better at health next year, the at least specifically for the starters. I mean, that's a huge factor. And if you know that you're going to have 4 guys or 5 guys who are going to make 20 plus starts or 25 plus starts apiece, I mean that's a big part of the game. And obviously health, there's a lot of factors to that. Luck being chief among them. But I think that the Royals have a good opportunity to make a big move and to hopefully make the right move. Whatever that ends up being, I wouldn't mind. Like I said, some of the guys who I mentioned: Duran, Hernandez, Santander. I would like to see. That's kind of the caliber of guy I'm looking for the Royals to pick up. But maybe not Santander if we don't have a running mate for him. But if the Blue Jays just want to offload him, I wouldn't say no to that.
I think Teoscar in particular is very interesting for you guys. And I do think it's a big cavernous outfield out there in Kansas City, and I think maybe that could be a little bit of an issue. He's not the best defender, but he's not
He's
also the
a
worst.
bad
He's better
defender.
than Santander, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah,
It's the kind of thing where maybe you have to give up a little bit in order to be happy to have 30 home runs in the middle of your order. So,
mhm. Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is that defensive play is a big part of, or is a significant factor in this as well. Because, like I've said, the Royals don't need a DH. I think the combination of Salvador Perez and Carter Jensen and Vinny will be plenty to cover that position. So they need someone who can play at least left field or right field. They signed Lane Thomas, not known particularly as a great defensive player, but he is, he's someone who raises the floor and has had good years in the big leagues in the past. So I would say that there's a good chance that we're going to see someone who's a bat first player. But again, this is Major League Baseball, and at the end of the day, every player is a bat first player. That's something I remember Chris Getz said one time, is that he was talking about how being labeled as a defensive guy, and he said something like, at one point in my career, I was labeled as an offensive guy, because every player at one point in their career is labeled as an offensive player. No one makes it. Very few players make it to the big leagues based on their defensive ability, but that definitely is a factor for the Royals.
With that said, any other thoughts about the winter meetings in general before we go into detail with our team's transactions?
No, not really. The winter meetings in general. I've kind of talked a little bit about the transactions that have happened, and we can get into those.
Very good. I believe we'll start with the Motor City, with the Detroit Tigers, who, I came on this show several weeks ago now when we did our free agent predictions, and I said Detroit was fifth in starting FIP this year. Why would they bring in starting pitching? What they really need is bullpen. Their bullpen was like 23rd in bullpen FIP or something to that effect. And lo and behold, what have the Detroit Tigers done? I didn't get the name right, at least not yet, but Kenley Jansen, Kyle Finnegan, Lee, thoughts, ideas, perceptions of what Detroit has done so far, really in this past week.
Yeah, I'm really pleased with both of these signings. Oh, look, who decided to join us?
Oh, hi. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
We were just getting into the details of stuffs.
Well, that's helpful.
Yeah,
am I all caught up now?
I would ask you how you feel about the general, what your team did, but your team did nothing. So that's not really.
But they didn't trade their three best players, so I'm going to take that as a somewhat win.
That's fair.
That's about all they can do.
And it's been reported that they won't. Keep that in mind.
It's true. Which I don't know how to feel about that, because if you asked Derek Falvey, hey, are you open for business? He's going to be like, what? No. Why would I give me the worst deals possible then? The entire league's going to ask for jump change for Byron Buxton and Joe Ryan. So they did say that. It is seeming like they're dipping their toes in the Josh Bell, Ryan O'Hearn, Rhys Hoskins first base bucket. So that's exciting. 5 years ago.
Well, hey, standing pat is doing something, so
it is. They've done a lot of standing pat the last couple of years. But yeah, Kenley Jansen. I like it.
I'm really excited for this move. Maybe I'm a bit too excited, but I really like this move. So we got him on, it's a 1-year deal for $11 million, and then there's a club option for 2027 as well. So I don't know what the money that is, but I'm assuming it's going to be I don't know, 11 or 12, about the same. So I really like this move. He went kind of underrated last year because he was on the Angels, so no one was really paying attention. But he could have been the reliever of the year, if not for one particular outing. And I'm going to get to that in a bit here. But he's had a very good career. I don't mind that he's old, because a lot of Tigers fans saw that he was 38 and went, are you kidding me? We're going to keep signing all these old guys. But Kenley Jansen has not been he's been kind of going down, but he's been very good for a very long time. And he'll be a good veteran presence, which we need more of. And he's been a damn good pitcher for a long time, and he was really good last year. I mean, let's, look at his. I want to look at particularly his game splits because I have a point. Okay, so his ERA last year was 2.59, right? Respectable. That's a pretty good ERA. You look at his earned runs. He's got one outing there with 6 earned runs, but then it's all these zeros. Look at that. And look at that. That 6 earned runs was against Detroit. That was the game where we hit like 4 home runs in the 9th inning.
I watched
So,
that
you know
game.
what? We don't. Yeah, that was a great game. I mean, I remember that game. I think that's why why a lot of Tigers fans aren't as happy with this, because they just remember when we hit 3 home runs off of him. But that was very much an exception, and also a victim of Ron Washington's bullpen management, which is awful. So I mean, outside of that, his ERA drops to 1.7 for last year. Like that goes from respectable and good to really damn good. So I really like this move. There are some concerns just because, I mean, if you look at a lot of the underlying numbers, it's not particularly great. He gets a lot of hard hit balls. Gets a lot of hard hit balls. You look at that, but I'm not as concerned because, like, okay, you can say, well, he might just turn and be really bad next year. That's the risk with every reliever. If you're worried about that, you're never going to resign a reliever. That's just how they work. But I'm not particularly concerned about that. I'm really excited for this move because it looks like, I mean, he's a closer. He's always been a closer. He's going to be a closer. I thought he was going to stay in Southern California. I'm not going to lie. I thought he was going to stay with the Angels, or because he likes living there. But he posted on Instagram about being really excited to play in Detroit, and I'm like, God damn, look at that, because we don't get a lot of that.
Well, to be fair, if they gave me $1 million, I'd be very excited to pitch in Detroit also.
11 million to be specific.
Yeah.
Does a
I will
player
say, go ahead.
ever say, Jesus Christ, I'm not looking forward to playing, and they're always excited to play in the next stop.
You say
Like,
that,
at
but
this
I
point
remember
in his career, he could pick and choose where he
That's
plays,
true.
is my
That's
point.
Or retire.
The fact that he chose to play in Detroit for the Tigers indicates to me that he likes where this team is going, or maybe he just likes the $11 million and no one else was going to give him that. But I find that hard to believe.
Well,
I think he
there's,
could've gotten
there's a
more.
couple different reasons too. Like he's 38, he got $11 million, but he is 24 saves away from 500 saves, which it is. That list is Hoffman and Rivera, and both of them are in the Hall of Fame. So I don't know how many other competitive teams had an open closer position. I think that could have swung people. So like he could just like Detroit and he could see them as a contender as well. But I do think there's a little bit of, I need 24 saves and I need a team that will give me a closer job.
And he
Detroit.
agreed to the club option too, which he could have just said, no, I'm going to go and find another team after this year, which could be he's going to be 40. He's concerned about how, he wants to get paid and be able to get those 24 saves. But I'm just very excited about this because this is not a move I was expecting. How about I put it that way? But I really like this move. He's probably going to be our closer. He's going to add a good veteran presence for our bullpen. I think this is a really good move for us.
Yeah. Can you just
I will
scroll
say
down a little bit?
alternatively, though,
Go ahead.
AJ Hinch, I think in his entire tenure in Detroit, hasn't really had a closer, somebody that is the closer. Are we sure that AJ Hinch is going to deviate from that now? I mean, has he come out and said so? Or could we be
Said
seeing
so.
Will Vest and Kenley Jansen and whoever else you can kind of think of?
Hinch, okay, the thing with Hinch, he never says he has the closer. He functionally has a closer. He just doesn't declare them the closer and always use them in every save scenario, right? Will Vest was functionally the closer, but he's never going to come out and say, Will Vest is our closer. You're just going to see it in the way he manages his bullpen because he doesn't believe in assigning roles, but he's going to use them, if that makes sense. So I think
What?
you'll see Kenley Jansen as being used as the closer in most save scenarios. But you're gonna, but in like specific situations, you might see Finnegan or Vest come out and act as the closer for that game or whatever. But he's not going to come out and say he's our closer, but he's going to be used as a closer.
Well, that just if AJ Hinch were to say that, it would be because Kenley Jansen has asked him to say that.
Right.
You know,
and
in
the
this
fact that
scenario.
Hinch agreed to that is another whole thing too. Sorry,
You would have to think that came up in conversations during the signing is
Mhm.
I want to close. So
yeah.
I want to close, and I want to be the named closer. Is probably a part of the deal making there.
Yeah. Also, you could say Hinch has never had a guy who's deserved to be named the closer, right?
that's
Maybe
fair.
this is this is your time. Look, our other save leaders have been, Jason Foley and Gregory Soto. Those aren't closers. Like Will Vest is a closer, but he's not a closer. If that makes any sense at all. I really like this move. And I'm really
Can you just scroll down a little bit too? Because I was looking at his Savant page a little bit earlier, and if there's like a big flashing red flag for this, it's his hard hit rate jumped almost 7% from the year before, and it was already high. He's 38. You are a little bit concerned about that going up, but the reality is he did it all last year when his K rate went down, his walk rate actually went down too. There are red flags with a 38-year-old closer. That one sticks out to me the most, but however, when you're dealing with small sample size, it doesn't really matter. So I looked at that and saw a big red flag of like, ooh, this might not be good. But then if you scroll down fartherly and go to his picks down to right here, slower or a little bit lower, where it says like his cutter is sinker. If you look at his expecting batting average against his slider and his slinker, which he uses, it's his minority pitches, but any of his pitches, that's pretty good. 196 for his sinker, 172 for his cut or for his slider. His cutter has been his Hall of Fame pitch for his entire career, and that only gave up a 219 batting average. It's slugging, not as pretty as it's expected slugging, not as pretty as you would like it to be, but I do kind of wonder if he's not going to put in the sinker and the slider a little bit more next year, just because it looked like he had a little bit of luck. But that was
He gave up more home runs last year, but he wasn't playing in Comerica last year. I mean, that's not going to make that much of a difference. Also, he's not going to be playing against the Tigers, who hit 3 home runs off of him. Like, I mean, if you remove those stats, which I don't believe in removing stats, but like that's an outlier if ever I've seen one. You're right. He gave up 8 home runs, 3 of which were the Tigers.
In that one game.
In that one game. So maybe you can scrub those stats a little bit just because. And that was terrible management by Ron Washington for the bullpen because he hadn't pitched in a week and then he comes out in the, so that was the whole thing. I think we can count that as an outlier stat. So I'm not totally concerned about his home runs went up. Well,
this isn't home runs though. This is hard hit. Like that's,
but like home runs are a consequence of being hard hit.
But
yes, hard balls in the air, but if you're still hitting the ball hard, the line drives and doubles can hurt not just as bad, but they'll add up.
But here's
I
the
get
thing
what you're
is,
saying.
I just looked it up, and you'll never guess who had the worst outs above average as a team in MLB last year. It was the Los Angeles Angels.
Imagine
so
that.
You would think if any point in time that hard hit rate was going to hurt Kenley Jansen, it would have been last year when the defense behind him had the worst range in the sport, but it didn't. So you can make the opposite argument of, well, actually, maybe his defense was letting him down and he could be even better this year. Those things are going to kind of come into play, and we'll find out what happens.
I'd be really curious to see what his fly ball rate was because, I mean, you do look at the park factors for Detroit. Their home run, I mean, they're top 5 in home run for the venue. So it's very interesting to see kind of how does the switching to Detroit, how does that affect him and his how much he gives up?
his fly ball rate last year was 43.3%, which is a big jump from the year before and all of his years previous. That's pretty high. But yeah, I mean, Comerica's a big park. You're not going to get as many home runs out of fly balls.
Right.
And a lot of those fly balls are going to be outs.
I'd say for what it means for their like, I do like the signing. There are concerns, but there's concern, like you said at the, when you started talking about him. If there's any concerns with a 38-year-old reliever, I like this because it pulls everyone down just a step lower. You can put Jansen at the not, whether he is your best pitcher or not in the bullpen. Everyone slots down a spot. So now Will Vest is available for the 7th if there's a fire to put out. Like you, Finnegan, same thing. If he ends up just flaming out, which could happen, you have a month to deal with it. Like you can deal with that hopefully with the minors and things like that. But I don't think this is a bad signing. 11 million is a lot for a closer or for a reliever, but I think it's sensible. I don't think it's going to hold them back from signing anyone else.
Yeah. I like this move, like I said. I'm really excited for this. Let's talk about Kyle Finnegan, because this is another really good one. I'm really excited that we signed him, because I really like Finnegan. So it's a 2-year, $19 million deal, that's a really good deal money-wise for the Tigers, because he was really good for us. Gregory Soto got $7.75 million, right? We're giving Finnegan $9.5. Great, because Kyle Finnegan is a lot better than Soto. Anyway, also, I really like that it's a 2-year deal, just because I don't know why, but it feels really nice to sign guys to not long contracts, but more than 1 year. I think that shows that they have a lot of, I don't know. They're sticking their flag in the sand, I guess. So his stats from last year aren't like, I don't know, the career-wise, they're not the prettiest, but he's been consistent, right? He's been pretty consistent. The big difference is when he came to Detroit, he got a lot better. And I mean a lot better, and most of that is due to the pitch mix. I showed this when first. Where did I? Damn it! Wait me 1 second. I had this pulled up, but here we go. All right, I held this up like a month after we traded for him. This right here is his pitch mix from which half is this? This is the second half. There we go. So, okay, here we go. In Washington, he did 66% fastball, and only his split was only 30%, right? But then you go, and in Detroit, his split finger jumps almost 50%. I think that's a huge reason in why you look at his stats, and he got this. Yeah, first half, second half. His strikeout to walk rate doubles. Right, his batting average goes down, on base goes down, slug goes down, OPS goes down. He got a lot better with us. Now, small sample size, that could mean basically nothing, but just given the fact that his pitch mix changed so much, I think that's just Tigers pitching staff saw something, they changed it, he got a lot better. So I think he's gonna stay not at the 1.5 ERA that he was, but he's going to stay really damn good for us. That was a lot of words, and I don't know if any of those made sense. But
I will say, beyond all that, Finnegan not only did you retain him, but the role he has to play because of the Jansen signing is smaller. He does, you can use him in a number of ways. He could be the 7th inning guy. He could be the first guy out of the pen trying to solve a jam, where he isn't the one thing you've done, and he's got to rescue the bullpen. I think that these moves kind of combine with each other, and it's got the makings of a really strong bullpen. It looks like if these guys can stay healthy.
yeah. Let's see. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about him. Oh, also just because I think an off season with our pitching staff would also help, because clearly he likes it here. I think he's made it very clear that he liked our staff. he was, he changed how he pitches. Basically, it worked out really great for him. I think it's a really good deal for us. I think it's done a long way towards helping our bullpen be a good amount better. So yeah.
Congratulations on your correct prediction.
Yes, I
Yeah.
am so good at this. I'm a genius. Yeah, that's 3 points for me. Yeah, little minor one. We traded Chase Lee to the Blue Jays in exchange for a minor league pitcher. I liked Chase Lee, not gonna lie, but I'm not too caught up about losing him. We got an interesting prospect in return. This is just clearing up a space on the 40 man in order to add Finnegan, and we're gonna have to make another move in order to add Jansen later on. So we'll see what that is going to be, but this is basically not much of something, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I think I closed up the Tigers. I talked a lot. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this?
You guys spent 20 million on your bullpen for this year. You have reason to talk about it. So all good. Moving off of Detroit, let's head to Kansas City. Take a look at what, Sam kind of previously alluded to a little bit, but made some moves. Uh, Sam, what are your thoughts on the Zerpa trade, extending Michael Garcia, etc.?
Yeah. First of all, extending Michael Garcia, I feel great about that. He is a guy who I think showed some real hype and some real, not just hype, but some really good results last season for the Royals, and a guy who was predicted to break out for a little while. So glad we locked him up. Glad that he's going to be on the team for a good few years. Now, let's do Vinny. All right, let's do the same thing. Let's lock up Vinny for a good another few years, and let's have those two guys along with Bobby Witt Jr. And those will be our that will be our core going forward for the foreseeable future. So, feel really good about signing Michael Garcia. Last night I was at a restaurant with my family, and I looked at my phone and I chuckled to myself because I had just gotten the alert that the Royals had traded Angel Zerpa. And in exchange for Zerpa, the Royals got two players. They got Isaac Collins, and who was the other player they got for Zerpa?
Nick Mears.
Nick Mears. Yes. Thank you. Nick Mears and Isaac Collins. Collins is going to be in his age 28 season next season. He finished fourth in Rookie of the Year voting for the Brewers this season. A guy who's, a bit of a late bloomer. A guy who's getting up there. If this were a 21 or a 22-year-old guy, I would, feel like the Royals really picked someone's pocket on this one. But he seems like a guy with some upside. Again, he did it for pretty much a whole season last year. And then Mears is another guy who's in his upper 20s. Seems like a halfway decent, relief pitcher. So the Royals got two decent players, seems like, for Angel Zerpa. I just don't know. I like this move for the Royals. I think this is a great move. I just don't know what the Brewers see in Angel Zerpa that gives them the confidence to make this move. Because, sure, the Brewers are a really good team, and they made it to the NLCS. But are they an Angel Zerpa away from getting over the top? So a little bit of a surprising move to me, but one that nonetheless I think is a pretty good one for the Royals.
It did seem like my reaction And from what I saw in our chat, and then my friends in my other Discord, all of our reaction was, "What are the Brewers doing with this? Like,
Yeah.
what do they see in Angel Zerpa that's worth giving up two other players? Like,
Mhm.
really?"
I guess I said the exact same phrase you did, Lee, but I said it like, wait, what do the Brewers see? Like what's just below the surface that nobody else
Mm.
seems to crack? But I mean, he's what, 26, he throws 98 and he's left-handed.
Yeah.
He's
And
never
that's
even like his under even he's been just a fastball. Even his underlying numbers haven't been that great. Well, that said, the Brewers do have a Brandon Woodruff, a Corbin Burns, a Devin Williams, Freddie Peralta. They have a track record of developing elite pitching. So, are they
Eh,
on the level of Tampa Bay or Cleveland? Maybe, but
yeah.
Well, and
I
I think the other thing is Zerpa's been around for a handful of years now. Zerpa's not someone who's just, making his mark on the league. Like, this is going to be year 6 for Zerpa next season. So I I I don't dislike Angel Zerpa. My feelings on him are pretty neutral. I think he's been a replacement level player
yeah.
for the Royals for about 5 seasons, and when he comes into the game, I'm not excited about it, but when he comes into the game, I'm not mad about it. So it seems like a big return for Angel Zerpa. But again, I think it goes. I think it goes down to Dan's point, is that he's a lefty and he throws 95 plus miles an hour, and
Yeah,
you know,
we saw that with Jose Ferrer being traded to Seattle recently. These are two guys that are left-handed, throw hard, and by the way, have team control. Uh, Zerpa has still 3 years of team control left as well.
mhm,
Alternatively, I kind of see where everybody's coming from with Milwaukee because, man, it sure seems like they couldn't hit their way out of a paper bag in that NLCS. Why are you trading offense potentially for another guy in your bullpen? They clearly just don't think that highly of Collins, maybe. He is
yeah,
somebody that was a rookie at 27. So I can
mhm,
kind of see where they're coming from on that too.
Apparently,
Um,
he like really fell off towards the end of the year too. So like, there's regression concerns. But guys, they have offense. They signed Akil Badu.
there
Duh.
you go.
wonderful, yeah. But yeah, I don't know, and like I said, Collins, he seems like he put up 2.1 WAR in 130 games the uh, for the Brewers last year. I'd take that production from someone on the Royals in left field. So
And it's better than most of the rest of your outfield.
yeah,
So
yeah. So I'll
and
take that.
not just like he against righties, he hit 802. Well, an OPS of 802. He had versus lefties, which I think is what to fill the platoon he's going to be playing more left-handed, but he
Mhm.
had a 732, which isn't stellar, but
Well,
you'll take an 800 OPS, especially considering they weren't really replacing much in either corner
Yeah,
last year.
and again, Caglione and Isbell are lefties, so you'll need and putting a switch hitter into the mix will certainly help things in that regard.
it
So
He
gives you
is.
more options that are not a negative.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I also like. I think Sam. I think you asked who's going to bat leadoff. This guy gets on base a lot. Like he has a high. I think his on base percentage last year was 368. I think the league average was around 320. If he's platooning, I'm gonna assume he's the leadoff in some of those. So like he's seems like is he decently fast? I guess I didn't look that. His defense is all right, but it's in left field. I like it, but I can definitely see how the Brewers would think this guy's probably a one hit wonder. He's a left fielder, good defensive left fielder who doesn't have a lot of power, but gets on base a lot.
Yeah, sprint speed looks to be right in the middle.
Dead average.
So,
He's got good
but
range though in the outfield, so he's
yeah,
defensively.
don't hate it. I think it's a it's an interesting move, and I mean, we'll see. We'll see if either one of these guys are any good for the Royals. And then finally, Royals signed Lane Thomas. That is another nice little move to sort of bolster things, put things in the right direction. Had a pretty bad year last year. Only played 39 games. Didn't post too impressive numbers over the last 2 years as well. But had a couple of decent seasons for the Nationals. It's a 1-year deal, $5.25 million. I believe there's an option for next year along with that, or maybe there's just incentives on the back end. I'm not 100% sure. But either way, a low risk, buy low type of move that I hope will, again, move things in the right direction for the Royals outfield. And, you know, he seems like a pretty clutch performer from what I've heard tell. So Lane Thomas, nice little pickup. So all those moves, I like all those moves. I think have potential to be very impactful and not a lot of risk with any of these moves. So let's see, and let's hope that we can get some more moves made within the coming weeks.
I just wanted to shout out the Motor City Bengals, a fan blog. They made an article about the signing with. They just pull up the title of it because it's hilarious. Mortal Tigers enemy stays in AL Central after leaving Guardians for Royals with the subheader, "Go away."
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was very funny. So,
Before we move off of Lane, I feel like I need to say my piece. This is a guy that had been traded to the Guardians at the trade deadline rather in 2024, and quite frankly wasn't very good when they first acquired him. I'd say I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but August 1st to maybe September 15th was pretty bleak. High whiff rate, not very effective at the plate for a team that really needed the offense. But from September 15th to October, whenever the season ended against New York, he was spectacular. And my understanding is that's a bit of his MO. He's a streaky hitter. I kind of wonder how that'll go in Kansas City if he gets to a slow start, how big the leash will be. But he's also somebody that had two really big moments in one of my favorite postseasons that I've watched as a Guardians fan, with the grand slam off of Tarek Skubal that gives him nightmares to this day. We're all pitching in for fun to get him a prescription for some sleep aid. That guy's you could tell the lack of sleep, the insomnia really wore on him last year. He was lashing out, throwing balls at players' faces, shouting at innocent fans at the bullpen, the whole thing. But I digress. What I really mean to say is he was
All
hit the
right, he's
grand
going to
slam.
LA anyway. It's basically set.
What's that?
That's all right. He's going to LA anyway. The bags are packed, according to that one very credible report.
He's got to pay for the insomnia meds. I'm sorry, but hit the grand slam off of Skubal, and then he hit the ALCS. David Fry's walk off in Game 3 only happened because Lane Thomas battled back from an 0-2 count, hit a ball off the left field wall to keep that inning going. So, Lane, I salute you. If you're out there somewhere listening, you're probably not, but if you are, thanks for the memories. And I'd wish you good luck in Kansas City, but I wouldn't mean it. So, you're now the enemy.
Yeah.
I do hope his plantar fascia holds up. He did have surgery on it in September, so he should be good to go.
Yeah,
Hey,
again,
Thomas, you listening to this? Fuck you. You ruined my day.
Yeah. Well, I think that, again, I know that none of the guys that the Royals have acquired in these moves are going to be the answer. Or it's unlikely that any of these guys that they have acquired are going to be the answer. But it's hopeful to have an answer, to have an option, and to be able to fall back to someone who can be at least replacement level player. So I hope that there's more moves to come, but from what they've done so far, I think that the situation seems to be improving. So let's knock on wood.
I
Before
hope
we
this
move
one
off of
gets
Kansas
at
City,
45.
I just want to say real quick, we led with the extension from Mikel Garcia. Two of the three top position players in WAR in this division were Bobby Witt Jr. and Mikel Garcia. The Royals have to do things to fill in around that. And it seems like they're working on it, but I'm with you, Sam. It sure would be nice to have another guy like Teoscar Hernandez on top of what they presently have.
If this
Also,
is
you mean to tell me that you can extend your star homegrown players? This is news
Tell
to
me
me.
about it.
if they could sign Tarek Skubal for $57 million extension, that wasn't just 1 year, I think they would do it.
Yeah.
With that said, let's move to the south side of Chicago. Ty, maybe not as boisterous of moves as some of the other teams in this division, but Chicago has made a transaction over the course of last week. What are your thoughts?
I mean, what can you say? 31 games pitched in 2025 for Colorado Rockies with a 7.02 ERA. I'm really hoping they see something in the underlying metrics. I understand he pitched for Colorado, so you're going to see, different things come about there in terms of what kind of runs you're giving up. I don't know. I just don't. I don't know how to feel about this. We'll see. We'll see what the pitching lab can do with him coming to the south side. So.
Yeah, look at those
It's depth, right?
away splits.
At this point, it could be a let's bring him somewhere else and see if we can trade him to Tampa Bay at the deadline. I'm not 100% sure.
So it's depth, right? 162 games a year times 9 innings. That's a lot of innings you got to fill. And so I presume Colorado, coming from Colorado, you're just going to get a bump in performance just based off of that. But I'll say, Ty, you mentioned earlier, some of the other names that Chicago has been linked to this winter. Do you have any thoughts? Is there anybody in particular that maybe you were kind of impressed or interested in the team being linked to? Is there anything you're kind of watching at the moment, since the other moves haven't been as plentiful?
And see, that's the thing. Right now, it's more of, are we going to fill our first base hole, and are we trading? I didn't mention this earlier. There was an article linking the Red Sox to Lenyn Sosa. So it's just more of a wait and see game at this point. Obviously, we're still expecting more bullpen help. Once again, I don't know if this is a guy that we think he is. But all we can do is try and DFA him if it doesn't work out. So I very, very state a question, if you will.
So be it.
Had you ever heard of him before the White Sox signed him?
I'm going to reverse that. Have you ever heard of him before?
No, I haven't. I haven't. And that was not meant to be a diss or anything.
No.
I
there are a lot of guys for the White Sox that it just I had no idea you existed before today.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Best case scenario, he comes out, he pitches, he just doesn't kill our he helps us not kill our younger arms. I think that's the best case scenario.
I think I'd be surprised if I had heard of 5 Rockies players before.
Yeah, I could name Hunter Goodman. That's a guy, right?
Tovar. Their shortstop's really good. Drew Romo was a failed prospect. Who's the guy that's been in
Chris
there?
Bryant. That's the guy.
No,
Who's that? Never heard of him.
They don't want to talk about that.
he's
I
still
don't want to
playing
talk about him
ball.
either.
Playing ball is maybe an exaggeration of his current state.
He does show up in the
He's
clubhouse.
still going
from what I
on the
understand.
field.
I think he had to get surgery for a degenerative back disorder. So
Now, I guess one more comment on Ryan. You look at we got Shane Smith from the Rule 5 draft last year. We made that work. Once again, maybe there's something here that they are identifying. We found ourselves being better at identifying where people are doing well and kind of not well and kind of adjusting. So I'm very curious to see what this experiment turns out to be. Worst case scenario, he's just eating some innings in April, and then I can't see him being on the major league roster all year if he does anything close to what he did last year. So
Can I tell you some truly like released like scary facts or like stats from his last year? I'm looking
Please.
at a Savant page.
Do it.
please.
Expected his slugging percentage on his four-seam fastball, which he threw to 100 and over 315 times. His slugging percentage on his fastball was 560. His slugging percentage on his curveball was 571, and his sinker was 654. That's crushed.
Well, and now once again, what is the difference? And I think Lee was showing it earlier, the home versus away.
Right.
Does that there is a 400-point OPS difference? So
I will say with his expecting slugging, it's 505, 450, 557. So like, and that does factor in Parks, the expensive on. It's still not. It's definitely. I just thought it was like 500. What like 550 was his lowest slugging percentage on a pitch, which is not what you want to see.
if and when we play Colorado this year, I don't want him to pitch away.
Can I give
any
a small?
pitchers that you want to have pitch in Colorado? Like, it's not really that many that you're like, yeah, you'd be really good in Coors Field. Like,
Can I give a
there's
small
pitchers-
kernel
Go ahead.
of optimism on this guy real quick? League average ex-WOBA last year was 318. That's quality of contact 318 ex-WOBA. His ex-WOBA on his changeup was 220. He might be a single pitch pitcher. I don't know if he can be Tommy Canley left-handed, but the changeup wasn't bad at least. I don't know. Might be
Realistically, that's
something.
what they're looking at then. That has to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have getting rid of Garrett Crochet. This could be our next Garrett.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ty. The White Sox are hosting the Rockies in the last series of the season in September of 2026. So, A, it won't be in Colorado.
Thank goodness.
And B, if this dude is still actively on the team in 2026, in September of 2026, it's probably a success that he's played well enough to be
Or
on the
not.
team until
Or like,
Or he gives he's the
exact
reason.
opposite.
He's the reason why we don't make the wild card against his previous team. I mean, that's the more realistic option, but anyway.
I think there will be a
digress.
variety of players who will be contributing to the White Sox not making the wild card.
I don't think it's just going to be Ryan Rollinson's fault.
Yeah.
You don't know that. For all those listeners out there that want to know whether that's the case or not, check back with us the rest of the year. We'll be happy to keep you updated on Ryan Rollison, among other things. Moving off of that, Eric, any thoughts on the Twins' winter meetings and all the plentiful moves that they potentially made over the course of the last week?
I don't have anything to share. So
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, the moves that they're going to talk about were in the Rule 5 draft and then the draft, which we're about to talk. So it literally was they didn't trade their three best players. So I'm taking that as that's a positive, maybe. And like they might have up to $25 million to spend in free agency this year.
In that case, I'll talk guards real quick. Like I said up top, there does seem to be a bit of a logic here. They're making particular moves, but they're not very attractive moves. I will start with, it came out this week. This didn't happen this week. He wasn't extended this week, but the news came out that after the 2024 season, Stephen Vogt had been extended because the thought was that he had signed a 3-year deal before 2024. He would have been in his lame duck year, his last year of his contract. That's not the case. He was extended after 24 and will be the Guardians manager for the foreseeable future. You can totally see why that would be the case. He's a two-time now manager of the year, winning it literally in both of his seasons at the helm of the team. And I'm not sure who pulled this, but I appreciate it. He has the third best winning percentage among Cleveland managers. Thanks, Eric. In team history, his sample size is smaller than pretty much all the other guys, but it's still an impressive accomplishment for somebody who is a first-time manager. So, two playoff berths in 2 years, navigated the team through the Clase Ortiz ordeal this past year, and of course
And
helped culminate that with a 15 and a half game comeback.
I should also say he has the third highest winning percentage in Cleveland history. He's 300 games. The two managers above him are from the 1950s and then the 1938 to 1940 manager. So he's the best manager by a winning percentage. No manager has won more games than Stephen Vogt since 1956, I think, was when Al Lopez led them.
Yeah. So the two names in front of him are Al Lopez and Ossie Witt. Al Lopez was the manager of the team in the 50s when there were some really good teams. They, held the record for most wins in a season with that 1954 team that ended up getting swept by the Giants. The Willie Mays catches with that. The origination of that is the 1954 World Series against the Indians at the time. Anyway, Lopez was the manager of that team and a bunch of other teams that finished second to the Yankees in the 50s. Vitt, I'll be honest, I have no knowledge of really beyond the fact that he apparently managed the team for 3 years at the end of the 1930s and did it pretty well considering a 570 winning percentage over that course of time. Guys, his winning percentage is better than Mike Hargrove, really good manager of the 90s teams. Nap Lajoie, the team was named after him at one point, mostly for his play on the field, but still was manager as well. And then Terry Francona, whose reputation precedes itself as it is.
I don't think I've ever seen someone have the middle name of Guy.
I was gonna say that. Thank you. His middle name is actually Guy.
It is Guy. I've never seen that as a middle name.
How is that a name? That's not a name.
That's trash
a name
talk, is what it
years
is.
ago.
Well, you guys know what to chant at him whenever you come down to the ballpark in the future.
Well, I also like the pronunciation is just telling, like, it's demanding us to vote.
Vote. Vote.
Vote.
People tend to vote for him.
I wonder his nickname, the story behind his nickname of I believe. Also, side note, I like these stats that they include stats of like challenges overturned.
Yep.
That means nothing to me. I don't know if this is a good stat or a bad stat. They need to put averages here.
Well, also, it's not the manager getting credit. There's the guy at the monitor, the guy who actually is on the other end of the phone when they call the replay thing is who it should actually get credit. But yes, I agree with you.
Who gave that guy that job?
Guy,
we don't know that.
Probably somebody in the organ. Probably Chris Antoinette.
Yeah. They need
Any
like
9-year-old
or something because these numbers mean nothing to me otherwise. Outside of that, I don't know if he uses pinch runners more on average or not. A league. No, never mind. They do have it. League adjusted pinch hitters used per game. My bad. They do have those stats. God, I love baseball fans.
Baseball Reference is the best
pitchers used
website
per
ever.
game. That's hilarious. This is an actual. Okay, never mind. We got way off track, but that's so funny.
Well, beyond the vote extension getting announced, the Guardians did have one other signing over the course of last week, and that is a relief pitcher by the name of Colin Holderman. Holderman is, and this is, by the way, a 1 year, $1.5 million deal. So he got 10% of what Jansen got to go to Detroit, I believe, if I'm doing the math right on that. Holderman was non-tendered by the Pirates after this past season. And really, it's kind of a tale of two kind of situations for him. Between 23 and 24, Holderman had a 3.52 ERA in just over 107 innings. Very reliable relief pitcher for Pittsburgh for 2 years. He throws a fast, heavy sinker, generates a lot of ground balls, but in 2025, he spent a lot of time on the IL, more than 2 months between a right knee sprain and then right thumb inflammation. Uh, he wasn't good in the time that he was on the major league roster in 2025. An ERA of 7 in 25 and two-thirds innings, ugly. But my perception is he wasn't healthy. There's 2 years of data to back up the fact that he's a much better pitcher than he was in that one season. The biggest thing that seemed to trip him up in 25 was he just didn't have command. And gee, if your thumb is bothering you, one of the things I imagine that's going to affect is your command. His strikeouts were down, his walks were up. They were nearly at a 1-to-1 ratio in 25, much better in previous years. Cleveland thinks they can reclaim him, um, and I don't see why they couldn't. They've done it with a number of other pitchers over time. Um, and so he gets added to a bullpen that, lost obviously its biggest piece through no fault of their own over the last 12 months, but is looking to kind of build itself back up. So that's Holderman coming to a late inning game near you sometime this year.
So, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Sam Henches signed for 1.4 million for the Giants. Who would you rather have?
That's a little bit of an unfair question because admittedly, if I've seen Holderman pitch, it was once and I don't remember it, and I saw Henches pitch a lot. Um, that being said, I think I'd rather have Henches. He has great stuff. Tall, lefty, throws hard. We've talked a lot about lefties throwing hard in this show. And by the way, the Guardians paid Henches to rehab for a year
Mm-hmm.
and then chose not to bring him back a second time now that he's either closer to healthy or healthy. Um, Cleveland clearly, not clearly, but my perception is that Cleveland knows something about Henges. Maybe they don't like how his rehab went. Uh, but Holderman had his injury issues too. I feel like I'm talking in circles now. Uh, to be decisive, I think I'd rather have Henches, but I'm not upset about the Holderman signing.
Sure.
But asking that question, I think I'd rather have Henches.
The thing that
It's
jumps
$1
out to
million
me is the
for the
ERA plus every 2 years. It's above 100, then it drops, and another 2 years of above 100, then it drops. So, I mean, you're in for another good 2 years.
Well, he's only on a 1 year deal, Ty, so looking good. That was the extent of what Cleveland did in the winter meetings as far as the kind of trading, signing side of things goes, those kind of traditional transactions. There was, however, over the course, as we alluded to in last week's show, the Rule 5 draft occurred during the winter meetings. And not every team made a move here, but a couple of them did. And at the top of that, with the first overall pick in the Rule 5 draft was the Chicago White Sox, who signed Jedixon Paez. Man, do I hope I pronounced that right. Ty, do you have any thoughts? Can you confirm or deny the pronunciation of this gentleman's name, or any other thoughts you may have?
Once again, we're looking back at what we've done with Shane Smith over the last year. We're identifying those higher, the personnel that can come in and be good for our organization at a major league level. I mean, you're looking at Paez's history. I can see that there's definitely some opportunity here. The only thing that really pops out to me is hits per nine. So I mean, as long as he can miss some bats, I think he's going to keep being raised up. I mean, he's 21 years old, so we'll see what we can do with him.
I'd say just look. I know. I read the MLB Pipeline article on him, and so that's my knowledge of Paez. What raised my eyebrows is he's a high A pitcher. That's a big leap from wherever the hell he was pitching to the majors. His average fastball was 91, can top out at 94. And it seems like where they think he can get away with it is he has a lower arm slot than most. Not a submariner, not a sidearm, but it's like a low 3/4, whatever. His low slider apparently, he has a low 80 slider, but really where he can he gets away with it. His command is exceptional. And maybe that's where they think they can just stash him at the back of a bullpen, or the game's out of hand in the third inning. Well,
And just give him the
Paez,
ball. Yep.
go throw 5 innings. It'd be interesting to see how they have him stretched out. If he's always going to pitch 2 innings, if they're going, I don't know. It'll be interesting to how they do with them. But that's a large jump from high A to the majors. But Akil Baddoo did it for 6 months for 3 months when the Tigers took him from the Twins.
But I mean, if you look at what we have in front of it, like, it seems like he could have gone up quicker. They just chosen not to. So maybe that's another factor they're looking at.
Sure.
My concern is when you look at his stats in high A, he gives up 1,000,000 home runs. I mean, I can't imagine that's going to change to the major league level, right? I mean, just like, let's look at 2024 in an A ball, 0.3 home runs per 9. 2024 high A 1.4.
Yeah.
That's my big concern.
No.
I mean, once again, the Sox with their pitching department, they've found a way to make some things like this guy. I didn't know who Shane Smith was prior to him being signed by us. So we'll see what we can do. It's another project. Hopefully we'll be able to pull him to the big league level and do something with him.
Some scout clearly fell in love with it. Whoever scouts the Greenville High A team clearly fell in love with this Duke. He has a plus slider and a plus changeup, supposedly. Mm-hmm. I wonder if you just say you're going to throw your fastball once an at bat, and then you're just sliders and changeup. It's just slop after that. If your control and your command is that good. But
the other thing to think about, it might be one of those signings where you want to get us to maybe the middle of the year. So maybe he does go out there and he doesn't throw particularly well at the major league level, but at least that's another one of our young pitchers we didn't have to use, or we got to limit them. I think that might be another play here.
Yeah. You have to hold on to him, though, all year on the 26th. Right. Now, you can return him, but
if he doesn't work out, then ship him back.
Exactly, and that's kind of where I'm at. Is they like something by him, whether it's the arm slot, whether it's the slider, whether it's the command ability to throw strikes. First thing that happens here is the White Sox go, "Oh, this isn't working out. Let's ship him back." He can do that 2 weeks into spring training if they want to.
Yeah,
right.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I think it's an interesting move for a guy that has some trademark traits. That said, moving off of Chicago, the Minnesota Twins also were involved in the Rule 5 draft, although theirs is a little bit more convoluted, perhaps. Eric, what can you tell me about Minnesota's actions in the draft here?
It was weird because the news came out that they drafted Susak, who, if people remember that name, he was a first-round pick 3 or 4 years, like a number of years ago, and just hasn't really ever done that much. People will look at his AAA numbers and they'll see he has like an 850 OPS, but it's in the PCL league, which is like a notoriously high offense environment. To give you, and I'm taking this from Gleeman and the Geek for anyone who's listening to this offhand, but if you look at Austin Jackson, who they just traded for, basically because they were willing to give him a roster spot, Austin Jackson has a slightly lower OPS in AAA than Susak does for his AAA team, but Austin Jackson did it in a less hitter-friendly environment. But Austin Jackson in the majors is a 150 major league average hitter. So who knows? They traded Susak to the Giants for a 16-year-old Dominican Summer League prospect catcher. Dan, I don't think you like this term. This is a true lottery ticket. Just see what you can get. That's all. Like that's all I have for it. I kind of wish they would have chosen a reliever. That seemed to make sense with their bullpen, but they didn't.
That's just bizarre to me. Like, the Twins had the 4th pick in the Rule 5 draft. They had their chance to pick amongst a number of players, right? They instead elected to use that to take a guy that then I'm assuming they knew in advance they were going to trade him to San Francisco so that they could get a 16-year-old catcher
Who's
that they must like.
but they must really like this dude, but he also only signed for like 175,000, like last summer or something like that. So it's fine, but like
It's why bother?
Well,
We don't
maybe
want any
this
of these
was,
Rule 5 guys. We want that 16-year-old catcher over there. We want
maybe
that,
this was
that young man.
agreed to ahead of time,
I mean, it had to have been, I would think.
right? The Giants say, or the Twins say, "Hey, Giants, we want this guy," and the Giants say, "All right, here's what we're gonna do. You take this guy in the Rule 5 draft, and we'll give you this guy for that."
correct.
The
I
only
think that's
thing I
what it
can-
was. It sounds like the Giants approached the Twins and said, "Would you like?" Because it was cash considerations, which is basically they traded the transaction fee to draft a player because you have to draft them plus $100,000. So the Giants paid that for the Twins to ship him off. Now Susac still has Rule 5 eligibility with the Giants. Like they have to keep him or send it back. They basically just jumped up the draft order.
So the Giants must have been worried that somebody else
Yeah.
was going to take him
That would be my guess.
before they got to Giants picked 15th.
And pardon my lack of knowledge here, but are you allowed to trade Rule 5 draft picks?
Just like this. This is how
Yeah.
you do it.
Okay, you can't just directly give someone your Rule 5 draft pick.
Nope. I think the closest you can come is this isn't even a draft pick. You can trade international pool money,
Yeah.
which is essentially, I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's kind of the same effect. I think what I thought was interesting the most about it is, does anyone believe the front office is going to be around by the time this 16-year-old could possibly be in the majors?
No.
That's a good point.
Like, I mean, if he makes out, good on the Twins and Falvey and Sean Johnson, who runs their draft and their prospect and their farm system. But it just seems really odd when you could not be more desperate for bullpen help. And there's two other players we're about to talk to that I think are intriguing enough that I would have preferred that than this. But is kind of my feeling on it.
Now that I think about it for a minute, it just sounds like that young man was the transaction fee for being willing to be the team to do the machinations that let the Giants get the guy they wanted. Like we'll trade our pick to you, but we want this 16-year-old catcher as
Right.
compensation for that.
And like this, I should look up his name. I know he had it was making summer league. He's a year and a half younger than his competition, and he did have an above average OPS. But with that said, he's a 16-year-old catcher. You can't predict 20-year-old catching prospects, let alone a 16-year-old. If he does not have the ability to catch at a major league level, he's a first base DH or bust. So like if you found the right guy, that's great. Like maybe this is the start of a Hall of Fame career and all of that, but this is a long-term play.
To say the least. There was one other pick in the Rule 5 draft that affected this division. That came from yours truly's team, the Cleveland Guardians, who selected Peyton Pallett, who is another relief pitcher. Believe it or not, that's the move the Guardians made again. Pallett was a second-round pick in 2022, and he was taken from the White Sox. So thank you, Ty, for your contributions to this year's Guardians team. He's an excellent Double-A pitcher the last 2 years. 2.75 ERA, 0.89 WHIP in his innings at Double-A. He did spend some time at Triple-A last year as well. That didn't go quite as well. 4.36 ERA and just over 43 innings. Command seems to be an issue here. Seems to be a running theme with the guys the Guardians have been interested in so far this winter. 4.2 walk per nine over the course of his minor league career, not ideal. But if they can harness that, he's got great swing and miss stuff. Really good secondary pitches, good slider, good changeup, creates a lot of whiff on both of those. Was a 4-pitch pitcher despite the fact being used out of the bullpen. We'll see if maybe he tamps that down. He's got a curveball too that has had. I feel like all the scouting stuff I read about him was about his curveball, but the numbers don't dictate that it was good. So I test people like it, but it hasn't played out. But he's got better numbers on the change and the slider. We'll kind of see what all kind of comes of that. Um, Hunter Gaddis is another guy that throws 4 pitches out of the bullpen for the Guardians. Maybe they just kind of keep them all. But Hallett is another addition to this Guardians bullpen, and that kind of leads me to my final thoughts. We started with kind of like how we felt about how things were going. I had alluded to um, that I saw that there was maybe a method to what the Guardians are doing so far this winter. Last winter, it seemed like they wanted to make sure they didn't get themselves in the same position in 25 that they were in 24, where there was not enough starting pitching depth on this team. They had to get away from rolling Carlos Carrasco in his 6 ERA out there every 5 days, being dependent on Tristan McKenzie being part of the rotation. Obviously, those things didn't happen in 2025 because they built up that starting rotation. This year, it seems like the move is we have to have more guys we trust to throw out of the bullpen late in games. It can't just be Cade Smith and Hunter Gaddis and maybe Eric Sabrowski. We have to find other arms. I say sarcastically to that because Stephen Vogt, despite being the manager of the year and all the fun things that we said about him a few moments ago, the first time Joey Cantillo walks a guy with 2 outs in the third inning of a tied playoff game, he's going to want to go to the bullpen because that's what Stephen Vogt does, is panic and go to the bullpen in the third inning of a playoff game. Now, ending the sarcasm, I'll say that it makes sense that they want to do these things. They need to add depth. They need to add more reliable arms at the back end. Obviously, there's a big gaping hole there as well that they need to fill. However, this was a very bad offense last year. And the fact that that hasn't been not only addressed, but the hint of it being addressed hasn't even really come up. We talked about the White Sox and how they've talked to folks around the league. Kansas City is doing a fine job of, at least at this moment, doing things around the margins and hopefully adding somebody else that's of bigger ilk as this winter goes on. Detroit's shoring up their biggest weakness, in my opinion. I didn't give a grade at the start when we were giving grades. I got to give the Guardians a C minus. I can see why they're making the moves they are, but man, does it feel like they're not addressing the biggest thing they need to be addressing. And for a team that won 89 games, has been in the playoffs 2 years in a row, and won the division the last 2 years, doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel right. The direction that they've gone so far. Thanks for letting me get that off. I felt the need to do it.
Can we talk about one more? If we're done with Rolf, can we talk about one more player who was taken from the White Sox or from the Tigers?
Yes, I want to talk about him
because I wanted the Twins. All right, go a bit of this first step. RJ Petit is how I'm assuming you're pronouncing that. Was the first overall pick. He is 26 years old, 6'8", 300 pounds. This is a big effing man. That selfishly, I would like to see the Twins. Twins draft. Obviously, they couldn't because they drafted after the Rockies. But man, mid-90s fastball, great slider. I don't think the Tigers are really going to miss him. But what a mountain on the mound.
I am sad that he got drafted, not unexpected, because he looks like he's MLB ready. We just didn't have space on the roster, right? The Kenley Jansen signing isn't official yet because they need to make another 40-man roster move in order to add him. They had to trade Chase Lee in order to add Finnegan. There's just a big roster crunch now. That's a sign of a good competitive team, right? When you have to let these guys go who could potentially be MLB players or plus players, but there's just not space for them, right? I am hoping that he ends up coming back to us, but not surprised that he ended up having to go. But this was kind of sucks that he had to. But yeah, there was I forget which site it was, but there was a fan blog that I thought it was really funny the way it described him because they said, "Oh, the Tigers were hoping to hide him and during the Rule 5 draft, but he's a hard man to hide because
Yeah.
like you said, 6'8", 300 pounds."
Well, I heard that the Rockies didn't want to pick him, but he just kept taking their lunch money until they did.
Well, it looks like he's going to be in his age 26 season next year. So it looks like he's, maybe not been able to put it all together. But when you are a person of that stature, you're always going to get a second look.
Yeah, like I get where we didn't add him to the 40 man. It just makes sense. We have better players who are better at this point. But I am sad to see him go. Yeah, the Tigers lost 5 players in the Rule 5 draft, which feels like a lot. I mean, I don't really pay attention to the Rule 5 draft that much, but it feels like a lot. We added 2 more, but I'm not really going to get into them because I don't expect either of them to make the team after spring training, to be honest. So, although they'd have to a couple of relievers, but this is the only guy I really wanted to talk a little bit about because, I am kind of sad to see him go. I hope he sucks for the Rockies and he comes back. That would be nice. That's it from my end. We did have the draft order got finalized. But talk about that. Congratulations, Ty, on your first overall draft pick.
I will say we were on vacation and the notification pops up. I turned my phone to my dad, and I just got that kind of single tear down my face of okay, this is happening. We've got a improving farm system through trades, through all of this development that we're trying to do, and then this on top of it. Seemed very Baltimore Orioles-esque of 5-10 years ago. So we're rumored to be heavily looking into the number 1 pick, or who is projected to be number 1 pick is Rock Tulowitzki, if you will. He is projected to be somewhat of a Troy Tulowitzki type shortstop. So there's going to be a lot of questions that we need to answer because he is a shortstop. We have Colson Montgomery there who finally started being the guy that we hoped he would be. So he would have to shift if over to third if we wanted to get him onto the major league roster at some point. But it's very exciting overall to have that first pick since 1977. So last time that we drafted number 1.
Dang. That's a long time to not go drafting first overall. It's kind of impressive.
We really just wanted to be mediocre for a very long time there.
Yeah.
The thing being, though, things even themselves out. The year that the Guardians had the first pick in 24, with the lottery, that's the only way that could happen. That should have been under the older rules, the White Sox first pick. You guys should have had a bunch of them the last few years. But the way that the rules work now, you can't have so many picks in the top 10 or whatever in a row.
Yeah, so
you guys
next
kind
year
of got
I
robbed
don't
of
think
it.
we can draft higher than 10, correct.
But it evened itself out, and you guys got the first pick in the draft this year.
Very, very nice to see. So hopefully we make the right choice for our team, and whether it's a shortstop or what is the top pitcher of the draft, I'm confident that we're going to get a guy.
Yeah, I saw some of the comments from GM. He sounded very excited. So, yeah, hopefully it works out for you guys. Twins are getting to get third, and that's Justin LeBron. So there you go, Eric.
Yeah, or Grady Emerson, whoever. But yeah, not much to really say. They're 6 months over. The big name was Cholowski. Can we just? Oh, sorry.
No, we can't.
No. Also,
That's not us
I'm gonna
saying
be a dick for 10 seconds. I just want to point out, hey, Dan, could you explain to me why the Guardians are picking before the Tigers here? Because I thought you guys won the division. What happened there? Right?
No, I had that coming to me, so that's fine. It's because Detroit beat Cleveland in the playoffs, I imagine, probably why
Oh,
that's the
that
case.
makes sense.
So, yeah. 3 teams in the top 6 picks in this coming draft come out of the Central, which interesting.
Royals
Yeah,
jumped up 10 spots.
Yeah. The
So,
Twins got their high draft pick. We'll see if they can. Tampa, I mean, damn. Talk about punching above your weight class.
yeah.
And the Giants, too.
Well, again, like with all things, like with all sports, and with all any type of draft like this, it's all a crapshoot. And the MLB draft is specifically just it's a pretty significant crapshoot as to whether you're picking first or you're picking 20th, whether or not you'll get a great player.
Yeah, I think like the biggest difference is just like maybe the top three, but then after that, it's like, who knows? It kind of goes all over the place.
Can I just say one thing before I get interrupted by some tears here? You guys are talking about the White Sox not being able to pick top 10 last year because of the new CBA and agreements. Can we talk? It's a borderline crime that the Rockies were the worst team in baseball, should have gotten this number one pick, and could draft someone whose name is Rock, and the Colorado Rockies cannot pick him. That's a little sad. Good for the White Sox, but I am a little sad about that.
They could really make good use of "I Want to Rock."
Yes, couldn't they? I mean, it have to be his walk-up song for 20 years. There's no other way around it.
Is Rock his actual first name, or is that a nickname? It just says Rock, so.
Are we sure it's Rock? It could be Roche.
Or it could be Roche.
It could be Roch.
Could be Roche.
Let's hope not.
Everyone's
Middle
been
school would be
using
brutal if
Rock
Roach
stuff.
was it.
It could be Roche.
I don't know. It just says Roche. Apparently, Max Clark follows him on Twitter. I don't.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Wow.
He doesn't have a pronunciation guide. We'll have to find out in a year from now, I suppose.
So I have a question to pose the group. If you bring that draft order back up, so the White Sox haven't drafted this high very often. The last time we did that we were this high, I believe it was Andrew Vaughn. Of the three AL Central teams, do we have a consensus of who will use their pick the best? My vote is not the White Sox, unfortunately.
A little while ago, we talked about the draft in terms of like the past 10 years of history. I think the consensus was not. I don't know. I don't remember. I think the Guardians came out on top because they did a lot of really good ones. Maybe not in the first round, but like after the first round. The Tigers seem to be really good at getting good first rounders, but then nobody else. That was before Scott Harris, and that was during Dombrowski and Alavila. But
I will say I understand not an AL Central team, but when I saw Tampa Bay Rays at 2 and Kansas City at 6, I was like, there's a high likelihood that those two picks end up being a better player overall than the White Sox number 1 pick, but that's okay.
Yeah.
hey, man, until this year, the Tigers' 2 first overall picks did not look good. So, yeah.
I feel the most uneasy about Kansas City picking at 6. I say that as a Guardians fan. I think the way Kansas City's headed to add another top 10 pick to their organization, that's good for them. They're headed the right direction. I feel most strongly about them of the three.
I feel like you got no room to talk when you drafted first overall after making the ALCS.
Oh, I'm not even saying that as a slight. I just mean things are going well for KC. And now they've got the 6th pick in the draft. And your memory is correct. Cleveland's been god awful in the first round, but has done very well down the draft board.
All right, that's right. Yeah, let's see it. And then they got the competitive balance. We got Cleveland, then Kansas City, and all this. Yeah.
Yep. We don't need to go into the minutia.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, this is the first round here is really the most important, and then after that it's kind of draft. But yep, congratulations on your first overall draft pick. May you have many more to come.
I hope we
So
don't
before we-
actually, but okay.
Before we close this out, I have to say, probably one of the most important parts of hosting the show is you got to probably keep an eye on the private chat that we have as the show is going on. Well, I didn't do that at all. So my apologies, guys. At some point, Ty wanted to talk about the least and most surprising free agent signings for each team. Is that where you were headed with that, Ty? Is that still relevant? Do you want to talk about that?
It's
We can
definitely a
save
topic
that.
we can cover later on. I think in the off season, it was more of just like where the most surprising pick for me is that Cease ended up on Toronto. Like I would have never expected that, but that kind of thing. I think we can close off with kind of looking at our picks that we made a couple weeks ago and see how that's turned out.
I still can't
Very
get
good.
over Pete Alonso to the Orioles. Not gonna lie. That one. I don't know. It just feels good. I keep seeing all the stuff that the Orioles are tweeting and like all the social media stuff, and I'm like, God damn, they really did sign him. Yeah. All right.
Like I said, you sent it to us, Lee. I am very easily amused because that meme of the polar bear. What the heck is a polar bear doing in Baltimore, Maryland? I laugh at that every time I see that. It's hilarious.
That greatly amused me as well. So, all
So
right.
before we call it a day here, what do we have on this board that has come to fruition? I think Lee, you're in the lead with your grand total of one correct prediction, giving
Mhm.
you 3 points, right?
Okay. 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 I did not realize until just this minute this is an image, not a it, not the actual thing to edit because I was gonna do strikeouts and stuff like that for it.
That's
But
okay.
we can do
Well,
that.
I think for the time being, Lee was correct about Kyle Finnegan going to the Tigers. Dan was incorrect about Cedric Mullins. Looks like
And Mike Yastrzemski.
Mike Yastrzemski.
Yeah.
And then I don't see a whole lot of other.
It's still really early in the off season.
Yeah.
I think those are the only. Ryan O'Hearn has been linked to. I've seen both the White Sox and the Twins. We got Harrison Bader has been rumored to the Royals, but I don't know how that's going to change with the Lane Thomas signing.
Yeah, we talked about Michael King with the being connected to the Tigers originally. Now it sounds like there's 3 other teams that are inquiring on him. So looks like the free agents that are still on the market have a lot of teams after him. So we'll see how those turn out.
But
Eric had mentioned that Josh Bell had been a potential option for the Twins in passing during the course of this show. I don't know if you'd said it on air or off air, Ty, but you mentioned Talkman and the White Sox are talking. That may come
Was
to
also
fruition
part
later.
of, yes, that was part of
Yeah.
we're going to talk to everybody and see what happens.
Yeah, so still lots of open opportunities for us to get some points here, but I am currently in the lead. Eat it.
yeah.
We'll see how it looks first, second week of January. Because I assume everyone on the same page that it's going to be very slim pickings in terms of moves over the next 2 weeks, since we're between the holidays or the winter meetings and the holidays.
Yeah.
There'll be
it's
one
probably
big
gonna be-
move, I bet.
Yeah, there'll be
One
like
move.
one more. Like
Cody
the Red
Bellinger
Sox
to the
have
Royals.
to do something soon. Cody Bellinger to the Royals.
Yeah,
Book it.
why not? Why not?
Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Like, comment, subscribe, do all those things, something we could do better at mentioning as we depart. And any final thoughts before we go?
See ya.
Nope.
Thanks, team. We'll see you next time.